Hi, everyone, and we are going to be going live shortly, and we're going to be talking about Jamboard today. And I have a very specific place that you can ask questions, but if you happen to be watching this on Facebook, and no one is yet, so hopefully people will join in, you need to allow Facebook to ask questions and comments, and that'll help us really learn a lot today. I know we're going toward the break, and that means a lot of people are busy or are done with their learning. But one of the things I'm getting a lot of DMs about is Jamboard. And so I thought, since we have this week and I think next week, let's see, the 17th, since we have a little bit of time, this is something that you can play with in these last days when it's kind of more fun in classroom and it's not as high stakes. So I have placed a Padlet and I'm going to do it again. Let me grab the link if I can. Oh no, looks like it left. So I placed a Padlet place for you to ask questions, and that you can find in the Facebook group. But if you can't find that right now, let me place it in the chat. And remember, if you want to ask questions, you need to allow StreamYard just to know your name, and then I can see your questions, and that'll make it a lot more interactive. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, you can do it there as well, and then I can see your comments. Otherwise, I won't be able to see it. But I'm going to place this in the comments, questions that you can ask, and I'll check it. I'll try and check it during the time that we're doing this. So I'm going to place this Padlet in the comments. Now, it looks like it went to YouTube, but maybe not Facebook. So I'm not sure what happened there. But let's get started. Now, before we begin, I want to kind of ground us in some terminology. We all went to school to become teachers, and we know the term pedagogy, but we now need to, in this teaching and learning in the pandemic kind of thing, need to understand digital pedagogy. So I'm going to place this on the screen. Give me 1 second. And I want to talk about this. So we all know about the method and practice of teaching, but digital pedagogy is something we need to wrap our heads around. And what this says is that there is the method and practice of teaching that takes into account, and this is really important, how the purposeful use of digital tools can increase student engagement, empower student voice, and create more meaningful learning experiences. And I think Jamboard fits really well inside of that. And one of the things that works really well with Jamboard is the fact that if I'm teaching remotely, and some of you are teaching remotely, and you might be going into either a concurrent or a hybrid model in January, or maybe you're teaching that and you're going to go into a remote. We don't know what's happening. Jamboard gives us this really great way of seeing what our students are doing. And if you happen to be a person who is using Microsoft tools, same thing for Microsoft Whiteboard. But I'm going to use Jamboard today because it's become kind of a new favorite tool. Nothing ever beats Flipgrid on my favorite tool list and Book Creator. But let's take a second and look at this. And I want to show you some examples. And I'm going to leave you with some templates today and a place to keep asking questions. So we want to continue the learning from this broadcast. So let's look. And I'm going to use one that a wonderful person let me co-teach with her this first semester, 8th grade honors English. And what we did to use Jamboard to really engage students. Now, I'm going to show you a language arts example, but as I do that, I want you to think, how could I use this in math? How could I use this in some other class? And then we're going to talk about, why would I use Jamboard, and why wouldn't I use slides? I get that a lot. So we're gonna touch on that. And I'm going to try and make this short so you don't have to spend all your time listening. But here's an example where we were reading short stories. And English teachers, we need to make sure that kids understand the plot element. Well, if they're going to go off and read short stories in an asynchronous way, I want to know that they're actually reading, and I want to watch how they're engaging with the story. So we were reading stories. If you know anything about the Humans of project that I've been working on, where kids are reading stories from Humans of New York, we placed one of those stories in here because the Humans of New York got a little racy for a bit, and I didn't want students just out on Humans of New York looking at stuff. So I took some of the best stories and I put a couple of them here. And then I wanted to know that the students understood that even though this is like a paragraph or two, it still has the elements of a story. So we asked them to go onto Jamboard. And I shared the Jamboard on Google Classroom so that every student could edit. And so that's really important. Many of us are using Google Classroom. Super easy just to take the link that's at the top there and add that link into your Google Classroom and then choose the option that users can edit. Now the students got here, they placed their name. So they just clicked here and put their name. And I don't know, here we go. So I could put my name, Holly Clark. And of course, doesn't want to do it because I'm live. And now I have, and I like to call it, claimed my digital real estate. So now this slide's mine. So I have kids all go put their name on a slide. And it's not called a slide, it's called a frame. And we're going to talk about that in a second. And I want them to decide from that story, who were the characters? What was the exposition? What was like the setting? And you'll notice I have characters and setting, which are part of the exposition right here. So you do your characters and setting, and hopefully you realize that's all the exposition. Then we're going to put in the conflict. What's the conflict in that story? What's the rising action? And where's the turning point? Because even though it's only this short amount of words, it still has all of those elements, and all stories do. So then come back here, put the falling action in your resolution. So what a student does is simply click on this, remove that rising action, and put, it happened when her dad came to the salon. And that was one of the stories we read. And so the kids type it, and now it becomes part of this sticky note. And we're going to go through this in a second. Where did I get that sticky note from? Is it really that easy? Yes, it really is. So students could come over here, pick, this is my template to show you guys, but I'd have other ones. And I'm going to show you how I would make other frames that look exactly like that. That's just one example. Let me show you one other one. This is going to come from language arts again. But again, this could be history. I could be reading a history textbook or reading about some figure in history. Obviously, Hitler is a figure in history. We were starting to read Anne Frank, and so we were talking about Hitler, and we needed some background information. So what I did is I put together some videos for students to watch. They gave a really short background because I'm not the history teacher, but I needed them to understand. And I said, after watching the 3 videos, you and your partner should talk and decide about the 10 things that impacted how Hitler was able to come to power. And so they came over here as partners, and they just click on this number 1 and put one of the things. Now you'll notice that I have this, are you sure here? That I was showing someone that I was working with a school district and showing them how to use this the other day. But say that's not what, let me delete it. Give me 1 second. What I did is I tried to edit it. And let's say, and this did happen, one of the students was doing this in a breakout room, and she put, he was born in 1889. I don't know if that has anything to do with his rise to power. So while I'm watching these kids fill out the 10 reasons that Hitler came to power, I came over to the sticky note. Remember, we're going to go over this in a second. And I said, are you sure that is important? So she was out home, she was working, I couldn't call her. And so I wanted to be able to make sure that I left a little note, and I put that next to it. And then I saw her change her answer. One of the things she's able to do, because we're on Jamboard, is look at some other student examples for answers. And some people might think, oh, all they're going to do is look at other kids' responses. Well, if they do, they have to type them in. And guess what? They're learning. And so the kid who might not do any work on his own might retype someone else's, and I'll take that over not doing any work. So this is Jamboard. Now that I've kind of shown you a couple examples, and remember at the end, I'm going to give you a bunch of templates that you can go wrap your head around, but somebody on Padlet said, I tried the blackout poetry one and it didn't work, help. So we're going to baby step this. So to do that, I'm going to go over what exactly Jamboard is and the tools. But Jamboard, if we look at it, let me just go back to my other one because I'm going to go to a blank slide. if I look at it, it looks just like Google Slides. Why wouldn't I use Google Slides? Kids know Google Slides. I know Google Slides. Why shouldn't I just use Google Slides? And here's why. Google Slides does not have the ability to, and you'll see I'm pressing on the toolbar, which is over here on the left side. I'm going to go through that more, but this has a pen. And this pen, and I can choose what kind of pen I want. Maybe I want a brush or I want a big highlighter or something. But this pen allows me to draw on something. And right now I'm drawing like 2 + 2, whatever. But I could, if I were to put, let's say, a reading that I was doing, maybe from a textbook, a science textbook, whatever, I can put that reading on the screen and my kids can highlight the parts that are important and circle words that mean something to them. So I can go out to the internet, copy and paste something. In fact, let me just try that. I'll do it for my own blog because I just know that it's safe because you know how it goes when you're showing something. So let me head down to how to make a Hyperdoc more engaging. And let's say I wanted students to read this and it was some scientific journal or something. I could just grab this and I do a copy. So on my computer, I'm doing a Command-C. I come back over here and I hit, and let me just clear this frame so that 2 + 2 isn't on there. And then I hit text. When I do that, I have to select, I have to hit inside what's called a frame. You might know it as a slide, but on Jamboard, it's called a frame. And I just paste. Now look, that's weird. That looks crazy. I was working with a teacher the other day. He was like, I can get it on there, but it looks crazy. And we had to really work through this. And I learned from the mind of someone who's not like a tech person like me. So I want you to look what I do. You see these handles right here? And I'm gonna put my thing around there. I drag this out. And when I do that, it goes and makes it this way, but it's still small. That doesn't look good. So I've got to, and this is just being used to tech, I start dragging it. Okay, that didn't work because if I keep doing it, it's only going to go to there. So I wait, I come back, go like this. It's not perfect, and I drag it a little more. Then I come back, then I drag it a little more. So I could even come out a little bit. We're going to stop right here just so you can see what I would do. That stops a lot of people. When they can't add text correctly, they're like, oh, I don't like this tool. So look what I can do if I'm reading with students. And this is like Avid, like 1001 or 101, but like 501. I can go to the pen. I can grab the brush. I can make it yellow. And now as I'm reading, I can say, oh, I find this part really important. Now it's not doing the same sort of highlight I can do with like say Google Docs, but now I'm highlighting as I read. And guess what? If kids are out in breakout rooms, I'm watching them do this. I know that they're engaged. I know that they're doing something. And if they're not, time for an email. And if my school district is hip enough for me to have Remind, and you can get a free version of Remind, maybe I text the kid and say, hey, I noticed you're not working on it. And maybe they've opted just to do it another time. So I can do that. I can also, this is the greatest thing ever. This is what we did in school when, circa 1980, 1990. Now I can put a note to myself and say, important point. I wonder, and I can ask questions or however I'm doing my reading strategy. And now I can put this over here. So I'm doing those same reading strategies, whether it's a science notebook, a math notebook, whatever. And I'm trying to always include the science and math people because I'm a language arts and history teacher. But you can see that now I'm highlighting and engaging with text. And I can't really do that same thing in slides. I can do the highlighting, but I can't put those little notes. And I could make a box and whatever, but then that box is stationary and doesn't move around. Well, it's not completely stationary, you know this, but it doesn't move around as easily. So I'm using Jamboard with this in mind, that I can write and mark on it, and that I can use the sticky notes to really move around and do something with. So that's the mindset you want to have. If it's something else and slides works better, use slides. Because here are the things that Jamboard doesn't do that we love in slides. Every teacher on planet Earth loves revision history. Guess what doesn't have revision history? Jamboard. So if you have a kid who might go into someone else's and mess it up, then you've got an issue. So you need to remember that. I am quite sure that Google will bless us with revision history soon, but remote learning means we push things out a little sooner than we needed to. And I've heard rumors that even new fonts are coming out. In fact, I have an international account with the school that I work with, and those fonts are actually already there. So it's not a rumor. But when I do put in text, and we're going to go to, in a minute, I'm going to give you guys a link to join me on a Jamboard. When I do put in text, when I have this text box selected, and you can see it here, I have the option for only subtitle, title, display, and caption. So if you're looking for some beautiful thing that you do in slides, this is not for you. You can make it beautiful, and you can do things by bringing in images, and you can do it. But if you aren't super tech savvy, then it'll be a little hard. So I noticed there are some people on here. Let's join a Jamboard together so you can try this as I talk about the tools. Now, if you're a person who can't listen to me and be on another tab at the same time, it's fine. I just want to give you the option. And in this, you're going to get to see me make a Jamboard and how I would share it with someone. So let's look. I will go to jamboard.google.com. And that's how, oops, got to be able to spell right. And here at the bottom is a orange add button, and I'm going to add a new Jamboard. So it's going to come up. It's called Untitled Jam. So I'm going to call this the practice one so you can find it if it's shared with you. So in a minute, I'm going to share this with you. So I have my blank Jamboard. Up here, it says I have 1 of 1 frames, and you can see it says expand frame bar. We'll talk about this in a second. So I'm going to add just another slide right now. I'm sorry, I keep saying slides because it looks so much like a slide. I'm going to add another frame, and here's a tip. There's only 20 frames. So if you have 40 kids, and I was teaching in a class that had 40 kids, I had to make 2 and 3 Jamboards and just share those all on Google Classroom. And then I just said, go find your digital real estate. And if it was full, if Jamboard A was full, they went to Jamboard B. Kids are super, super digital. They can figure it out. It's you that might be scared. No, I'm not saying that you are, but okay. So now what I do, and this is what confuses people usually in slides, like you can file, make a copy. Where's file, make a copy? There's no file. And I get a lot of people requesting, like they want to get a Jamboard template that I have. This is how you do it. You go to these 3 dots, and this is where make a copy is. This is where I delete it. So you'd want to be familiar that these 3 dots have that there. But I share it just like any Google tool. So I'm going to make this. Anyone with the link can edit. So while you're getting on, I'm going to take this. I'm going to put it. Sorry, I'm on a second screen over there. So if I'm looking that way, that's why. I'm going to post this. I'm also going to go to the Facebook group really quickly. It's probably going to look a little weird. And let me see if I can get home. I'm going to put it in the chat as well. There. So you can get to the Jamboard, and I'll wait. I'm going to talk because some of you might be weird to listen to me as well as participate. If you happen to get on, I want you to, and I don't see you like I do in slides with all the stuff on the side. I see you because a little face thing pops up here, like a little, like almost like on Google Maps. It's a little Google Map looking thing that shows you on my dock. So if you get on, you'll come over to this toolbar. You'll click the 4th one down. It's called Sticky Note. And all you have to do is say hello. And that way I'll know. Some of you, it's okay. You might not want to get on while I'm talking about it. It's fine, but it's a really good way to learn. So I can't see any comments. So if you are, and it might be on my end. I'm sorry if I don't see it. So this is Jamboard. While you're maybe getting on or not, I'm going to tell you about what this is. So up here we have our frames. They're normally over here in slides. But these frames are here, and if I click this arrow, it expands them. And now I can duplicate, or I can just add a new one by itself, which all the way till 20. So that's how I manage my frames, which is like the slide viewer on the side, but now it's at the top and it's called frames. Hopefully that's helpful. Now over here, I have my tools. These tools live at the top of slides, but they're on the side in Jamboard. And they're limited because Jamboard's not slides. We don't need another slide program. We have plenty. So I have the option for a pen, and with everything. And a student told me once, and I'll remember this for the rest of my life. They said, Miss Clark, have you ever noticed when there's 3 dots or an arrow, there's something super cool underneath that? And I want you to adopt that. So there's an arrow here, and we have pens, and we also have colors that we can select. We have an eraser, really easy. There's no arrow there because you just need one eraser, or I can clear the whole frame. Remember, it's not a slide, it's a frame. I can clear the whole frame. So if I do that right now, my hello is going to go away. And there it is, it's gone. Or I can erase. A little bit harder to erase a sticky. So I might have to select it and delete, which you saw me do a minute ago. This is the select tool. So if I have something on there and I want to move it around, I've got to go to the select tool to do that. This is sticky. So I'm going to say hello then and show you how I need to use the select tool. See how it's selected already right now? That means I can move this around. But if it wasn't selected and I was putting in an image, let me stop that. In order for it to move, I've got to select it. I can also add an image. So I can go to a camera, I can go to Google Images, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to type in puppy because puppy makes everyone happy. And I can find an image, or I can do the respiratory system and have kids put sticky notes to tell me what function they have. What does the lungs do? That would be really cool. I wish I could just create Jamboards all day. So I'm going to choose this puppy. Actually, I don't really like that one. I'm going to pick this guy. And I'm going to insert it just like I did with Hitler. And then the students could tell me, obviously, it's not a good example for school, but it could be an English class because you could write a paragraph underneath about puppies. What is this puppy thinking right now? And you could write a paragraph. That could be a writing prompt. So that's how I put in an image. I can also just drag. Let me show you my sweet little Peyton, if we're talking about dogs. Probably the cutest dog that ever lived. I just am dragging this, and in a second, oh, actually, I'm wrong about that. I have to go to images, and I have to go to upload, and now I should be able to drag this in here. Yep, and now you're about to see my sweet little Peyton. So that's how I bring in an image, and the image can be moved around, which is pretty, I think, cool. Because it's a little just more easy to move things around. So you're looking on a Jamboard for, I want to move, I want kids to be able to manipulate stuff. And a lot of people really like, let's put this in actually. They really like having like the respiratory system. So let's try that. Went to sticky. That happens to me a lot. I can't remember which is sticky and which one's image. And I'm going to go to Google Images. I'm going to type in the respiratory system. And I could get this image. I'm going to insert it. And then I could drag it. Oops. Let me do that again. Hold on. It's going to be a weird now. Because there we go. And I could have kids tell me, what does the nasal cavity do? And put a sticky note. And we could work in pairs in a breakout room. It's beautiful. And then you can watch it happening from your house while they're working asynchronously or together, synchronously together, but not with you. Gets all kind of crazy in a breakout room. So that's Jamboard for that. Now, what if I wanted to, if we go back to this plot example, I placed in for my plot, for my example plot, I just put in the shape of a triangle because I couldn't get that perfect plot thing in. I could have put an image, and I can, if I go to the 3 dots, I can well, there's one I can set as background. That's what I was trying to find. So I could set the plot thing as the background, and then the kids could have this on top of it. But I wasn't smart enough yet when I did this, and this worked fine. So that I got from this little tool down here called a circle. And I click on the arrow because Ms. Clark, did you ever notice there's something great underneath the arrow? Yes, there is. There's more shapes, and I'm sure more are coming. And so I could put an arrow. I could put any of these things. And the final one, oops, I didn't want that. I was just showing you. The final one is a text box. And remember, to get that text on, I have to click on the frame and the text box appears. And when I do that, then I get these other things happening up here. So even if I put in a circle, when I put in that circle, I have new things appear up here. So look up there whenever you put something on. Now this means I could fill it. I could fill it with blue. I can make a stoplight. I can do all kinds of stuff. I can make a Venn diagram. I did that the other day. So this last one is for if you are maybe presenting, you would say that part is really important. I want you to circle words that look like this. I don't use this one, but it's there if you want it. So Jamboard is often so easy that people, I hear this a lot, I'm tearing my hair out. I couldn't figure it out. And it's just because you have to know a couple things. This arrow. And so if we're going to do blackout poetry, for example, and let's go back to a story so that we can see where we would do blackout. We hit this, we choose the brush probably, I would think, and black. And now I'm going to black, oops, it's not black enough. So let me choose a pen because that's going to be way blacker. And then that's going to take a little time to do that. So I might have picked something thicker, but I can black out that way. And when I do this, when I'm in pen, I get nothing up here except for the same stuff that was there. So let's see if this one's thicker. No. But when I hit the shape, I get different stuff up here. So you always want to look up here after you selected something. So when do I use slides? When I want to pretty it up, when I don't want kids to move something around or interact quite in the same way. So I'm using frames or Jamboard for writing and for this movement of the sticky note. Oops, I was still in the, still had the shape selected. So if that ever happens, it's just because you have something over here selected. So pretty easy. You're just going to be missing and feel weird because you don't have this toolbar that you do with docs and slides and drawings. That's gone. And the only thing you can really do is zoom in and zoom out. So wrap your head around that and you'll be really successful at Jamboard. Now, here's what I recommend. During this last week, week and a half, however long you have, maybe you only have one day left. I don't know what your school district is doing. Do something that's not a lot of pressure or high stakes for students so they can learn it too. Put together a Jamboard and ask them to put a picture of themselves and 3 hopes they have for 2021. And that way they can play with all of the assets, and it's just for fun. And they can see each other's and, oh, you're hoping for, world peace, whatever, or a vaccine that works, whatever it is. And it's low stakes. You don't feel like you don't know anything. Then students learn it. And then there'll be some kid in your class who will be your new Jamboard expert who will help you out of all problems. So my recommendation is to do this next thing. And let me look and see if anyone's asked any new questions in our Padlet. You can see I have a lot of Padlets going. I use it way too much. Nope, same old question. So we're good. And what I'm going to have you do is you can find some Jamboard templates. There's like 50 or more of them that might get you thinking about how you could use Jamboard. And the best way to find that is to go to hollyclark.org. So my website, head down to, or no, don't head down, go to search. If you put in Jamboards, And I didn't even spell it right, did I? Oh, I did. And I click on this first one, which is how to use Jamboard. There's a couple things for you. There is what it is and yada, yada. And there's some ideas. Here's a video on how to do it. I think it's 6 minutes long. So if you forget, maybe it's the break and you want to learn again, it's there. 10 ways you can use it. And then you can download some templates there. But you can also come down here to more templates. That's going to take you to a Wakelet collection that has all kinds of templates that you can look at. And if you get to one that you like, remember, you come, pretend this is the all open thinking routines, one of my favorite ones. You come up to the 3 dots and make a copy. And here's another tip. It only lets you make a copy if you're signed into your Google account. So if it's not letting you, that's the reason why. Uh-oh, it's 5:01. I have an appointment. The person's probably at the door. But I wanted to give you examples, and I wanted you to be able to put your mind around when you could use slides and when you should use Jamboard. I'll be answering any questions. If you want to put it in our Padlet, I'll answer more questions later. And hopefully you can remember that this is about purposeful use of digital tools to increase student engagement. And that's what Jamboard does. Empower student voice. Hear from each of these kids. What are they thinking about the content? And create more meaningful learning experiences. So thank you, everyone. I know it's stay at home and someone's coming here, but they're not staying. They're just knocking and dropping something off. So thank you, everyone. And we'll see you probably twice next week for other tools as well. So make sure to be looking for that. Bye now.